Welcome to your Time Management Revolution. This is Time Management Fixer Helene Segura. In today's episode, I'll be sharing a previously recorded interview during which we're discussing time management and mind management. Enjoy!
It's time to go beyond happy and to live joyfully. This is Lessons in Joyful Living with Kimberly Rinaldi, the founder and owner of the Lessons in Joyful Living radio network. Having created a highly successful coaching practice, Kimberly now teaches lessons in joyful living. She believes in empowering others and that through it, you have the ability to break through any and all barriers. What used to take weeks, months, or even years, she can now show you within a matter of hours with her programs. Kimberly can help you achieve your highest potential and move towards your sole purpose. And she provides you with tools that you can carry with you for a lifetime. This is Lessons in Joyful Living on the Lessons in Joyful Living radio network. And now, our founder and your host, Kimberly Rinaldi.
Good morning, and welcome. Today is Wednesday, September 21st, 2016. Gorgeous morning in Southern California where I am. Fall starts tomorrow. It's probably 100 degrees out and humid where I am. I was in Central and Northern California last week, and coming back from 60-degree days and 65-degree days to 100-degree temperatures in Southern California was a bit of a shock to my system, and I don't know why, because I've lived here all my life, but I was like, really? It's fall. There's pumpkin spice latte in the air. Why is it so flippin' hot? But that's how it is, and I am in the process of, I don't think I've shared too much on this show, but I am in the process of planning and getting ready to execute a 30-day cross-country road trip. So you'll get to hear about where I am and what I'm doing as I'm traveling. But we are going cross-country. I'm working with a client to launch a business that, for her, very much is about celebration and travel, and that's a whole separate part of what I do, but part of the process is I'm taking my show on the road, so I will be working from various locations throughout the United States. We're going through Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, Tennessee, Louisiana, Mississippi, Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina, and it's very exciting. I'm looking forward to it. But as I'm sitting here, I'm looking at my desk, and I took last week off for my birthday and went to Monterey, went up north, and really got away. And as I'm sitting here looking at all the mail, because we always put a stop on our mail when we leave for more than a day or two, because with multiple P.O. boxes and physical addresses, we just don't want to have to deal with it. So we put a stop on the mail, pick it all up at the post office when we're back. As I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, I cleaned my desk to get out of town and feel good about it. I come back to a pile of stuff that I brought in from the post office. It's like my life has become punctuated by these piles that need to be addressed on my desk. And as I'm looking at taking off for a month, I'm thinking, I'm not going to actually hold my mail for a month. I'm going to have Mr. Rinaldi forward it to different locations, and he's going to come out and join me for a very short portion of the trip. Did I mention that? I'm doing this without Mr. Rinaldi. I'm excited, and yet it will be, we've had separation times where we've traveled for up to 2 or 3 weeks at a time, but, excuse me, did not see that one coming. But this is the first time that it's going to be 4 weeks, and it's going to be me being gone that long and traveling, and we're trying to figure out a good place for us to meet and hang out for a few days. And he'll ship me my mail and keep things running for me from this end, and I get to do it on the road. And that's what I love about my work and what I do. So I'm excited about that. Today's guest really ties into that as I'm sitting here, because I really cannot get focused on going through my mail, and I've been home since Saturday. Today's Wednesday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, so 5 days. I've been looking at the pile, and, of course, every day we add to it a little bit more. So that really brings to the conversation today's guest, who was on a few weeks ago, and I asked her to come back so we could specifically talk about this. She is the author of The Inefficiency Assassin, Helene Segura, and it's time management tactics for working smarter, not longer, ending procrastination, stress, and distractions. Helene, short of having you sit by my side and smack my hand with the ruler like they did in Catholic school for me, what can I do to stop these piles from breeding?
Well, you have a couple of different options, and it depends on whether or not you are a marathoner or if you're a sprinter. If you're a marathoner, you can divide up these monstrous piles first into junk mail and then the rest of the categories. Because a lot of times those piles consist of that junk mail, which makes the piles even scarier. So if you can just get rid of the junk mail, it makes the task seem so much more manageable. But if you're not a marathoner and you need to sprint, that means you need to work in smaller chunks, then just take a 1-inch stack at a time from this pile and go somewhere away from the stacks and just work on it for 10 minutes at a time. So at least you're making progress there.
I love that. I love that. And you know what? Honestly, you mentioned something that we had done years ago, and I'm thrilled with it. We actually have a stop delivery on anything other than first-class mail. We don't get junk mail.
Oh, that is fantastic. Nice.
I know, right? You can do that at the post office. You can post that on your P.O. box. You can post that on your home delivery, that you refuse anything other than first-class mail.
Oh, I will need to try that. I had made that request probably 15 years ago, so maybe they weren't doing that yet. And they said, well, this is how the post office survives from the postage from all the junk mail. And I said, well, okay. So I just went a different route. I went to 41pounds.org, and for $40, they remove you from as many lists as possible over a 5-year period, and that cut my junk mail by 50 to 60%.
Oh, nice. And I was like the biggest contributor to it, because not only, and this is, the age you can go online, but for me it was like, oh my God, I'm going to miss the spring catalog. I don't do that anymore. So, yeah, I'm a shopper, as I said when we started. When the show started, I was actually online on Bloomingdale's ordering shoes. I admit to it. But, yeah, I'm looking at this, and we've pared it down to where we don't get the junk mail. We do just get what is direct first-class mail. There are, and I love yours, there are just so many other options out there for streamlining, for making your workday less stressful. When somebody is taking off, and I know this from coming from a corporate background, you want to get your desk clear. When you're going on vacation, you want to clean your home. What is that need to nest and tidy up before we leave when we haven't done it for, weeks leading up to it?
That is called being kind to your future self, because what you're thinking of is, what do I want to see when I walk back in here after my vacation? Because you want to stay happy after your vacation for at least a few minutes before reality hits. And so if you can at least walk into a clean office, a clean home, then that vacation mode can last just a little bit longer.
I like that. I had never identified it. I'd been doing it since childhood because I saw my parents do it. But yeah, it's, it is. And I look at the fact that not so much at home, but when I worked in a corporate environment, my office would I had staff that would clean it when I was gone because they knew I wasn't going to. So I'd come back to, things organized and stuff filed. They had keys. God bless them. They'd get in there and say, I couldn't stand it anymore. I work from home now. I don't let my staff touch my stuff.
Well, it's always nice to have staff around who could do that for you. But since you don't, then you just did yourself a wonderful favor by prepping before you leave. And in addition to being happier when you walk back in, you probably also had a much clearer mind while you were on vacation because you knew you had taken care of everything that needed to be taken care of.
There's truth to that. There's absolute truth to that. I have been really just post-it noting and side noting a lot of the stuff in the book. And what I love about the direction that you took with the book is you identify the challenge. You sort of walk through why it's a challenge. You give us some background as to, how it can be a challenge. And then obviously there are tools and tactics and strategies and next steps. One of the things that really spoke to me, and I want to definitely get into it in our second segment, but it's the why we procrastinate positioning. And I know for me, I'm going to say a quasi-recovered adrenaline junkie. So unless I have that adrenaline rush of, holy shit, I'm almost out of time, I don't feel like I'm accomplishing things, and it's so wrong. And I know where it comes from. It was reinforced working in emergency services, urgent care services, because everything was high drama and high adrenaline. And now I have my own business, and I'm in charge of everything, and I do still find, not to the extremes that I used to be, but I do still find it's like, okay, deadline's on Friday. Okay, it's Thursday. Okay, it's Thursday night. Okay, it's Friday at 5 in the morning. I think I'll get started now. How do we break that aspect of it? There's an actual physiological addiction to that. I know we can't go into it right now, but I really would love your insights, and please help me, some direction on that aspect of it, because I know it. I fully own it. I identify it. I guess, yeah, I'm addicted to that adrenaline pump of how to get my ass off my chair and make it move. So, Do you have insights that you can help me on that when we come back?
Absolutely.
Perfect. We are going into our first break. When we come back, we're speaking with the inefficiency assassin, Helene Segura, and she's here to help you figure out how to make your life easier. That's the value here. It's freeing up time, freeing up space, freeing up energy that you're otherwise expending on things that, hey, maybe you don't need to be. And when you start to remove those we're going to call them challenges from your life, so much more falls into place the way it should. Join us back in just a few moments.
Having overcome tremendous obstacles herself, she believes happiness is overrated. She calls upon you to live joyfully. This is Lessons in Joyful Living, and Kimberly will be right back after these on the Lessons in Joyful Living Radio Network.
We've known for a long time that diamonds are precious or worth a lot of doodle-roomas. That means money. Did you ever wonder how a polished pebble becomes one of the most expensive things on earth? 2 centuries ago, diamonds were worn only by royalty. But in 1870, miners discovered huge deposits of diamonds in South Africa. And soon after, the diamond market was flooded. That's when a man named Cecil Rhodes started buying up shares of the diamond mines. 18 years later, Rhodes controlled the entire South African supply of diamonds. He started his own newspaper and magazine articles with clever ad campaigns about cut, clarity, color, and carat. He also convinced women that they weren't truly engaged to be married without a diamond ring. I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my free app, Too Funny for Words.
Being in a bad marriage or relationship can make your life miserable. But staying in a bad marriage or relationship is not only miserable, but it should be unacceptable. Join relationship coach Lindsay Ellison each week for her new show, Start Over, Find Happiness, where she gives expert advice on all things divorce and breaking up. Dating after divorce, good sex, bad sex, the importance of self-love, setting boundaries, how to find love again, loving toxic partners, as well as Lindsay's own journey of divorce and rediscovery that has inspired millions of women around the world. You can also sign up for her coaching program, Thrive, which helps anyone navigate through the disparity of breaking up and starting a new journey. Join Lindsay Ellison every Monday, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the Lessons in Joyful Living Radio Network. Go to lindsayellison.com for more information. Welcome back to Lessons in Joyful Living, teaching you how to truly stand in a place of peace, joy, and abundance, and know that it's calling for each and every one of us. This is what drives Kimberly to live what she teaches and to share her success and passion for helping others to help themselves. So let's get back to the show. This is Lessons in Joyful Living on the Lessons in Joyful Living Radio Network. And now, here again is our founder and your host, Kimberly Rinaldi.
Good morning, and welcome back, and thank you for joining me on Lessons in Joyful Living on the Lessons in Joyful Living Radio Network. If you haven't already had a chance to join me, go to KimberlyRinaldi.com. Find out where I am, what I'm doing, when I'm doing it. I'd love to have you join me there. You're going to receive 30 Lessons in Joyful Living delivered to your inbox, and gather some tools, tips, inspirations, and affirmations to help you move towards that joyful expression of life that you're looking for. So today, we have joining us again Helene Segura, and we're talking about efficiency and her book, The Inefficiency Assassin, Time Management Tactics for Working Smarter, Not Longer. And going into the first break, we were talking about the fact that I, as a chronic procrastinator, am addicted to the biology and the biochemistry of that adrenaline rush I get from going, holy shit, I'm almost out of time. How do we fix that?
Well, the first step is to realize what that adrenaline rush actually is, because when we come to terms with what we're doing to our own body, then we might actually scare ourselves into not procrastinating anymore. That adrenaline rush that you feel is cortisol being released into the body. And if you read any studies on cortisol, you'll see how detrimental it is. Over a long period of time, it causes high blood pressure. It causes food cravings, which leads us to obesity. It causes cognitive malfunctions over those long periods of time. And so when you start to realize that this rush you're feeling of working at the last minute is actually killing your body, then you'll start to think again about procrastinating. Now, because it does feel like an addiction, you can be addicted to this rush. What we could do is replace the addiction of the rush with the addiction of the peace that you feel when you finish something without having to go through that rush. So that would be the biological, physiological way of addressing procrastination.
And there is truth to that. We become addicted to our emotions. It is a biochemical cocktail. And when you think about people, there are people out there who are addicted to anxiety. They're the ones who are like, oh, my God, oh, my God, oh, my God. There's, the people who are addicted to anger. We all know that person. No matter what it is, it's going to piss them off. Mm-hmm. And there are people who become addicted to peace. And I am, for the most part, peace and tranquility driven. We were talking about how my birthday plans changed. It came down to just me, the dog, and the hubby going away. I like my peace. I like my quiet. If I could go 48 hours and not make eye contact with another human being or speak, that would be nirvana in my world. It really would be. I really do crave that peace. I still, for whatever reason, have that, and it probably has to do with 20 years of being in healthcare in that arena, but I still have that little, the little heart starts to beat faster, the palms get a little sweaty. You have that adrenaline response when it comes to deadlines, and I still push it. Not to the extent that I used to. The stakes aren't as big. The adrenaline rush isn't as big, but I'm aware of it, and I think that is the important factor for us all to realize. While it is motivating from a biochemical standpoint, on the back end, you have burned fuel in such a manner that it is damaging.
Absolutely. Now, if we can dive into this just a little more, Have you ever thought about the types of deadlines you tend to procrastinate on? Is there any kind of pattern with that?
Oh, yeah. If it's for me, I wait until the damn last flippin' minute. Somebody else, I show up fully.
Mm-hmm. So you put everybody else first before yourself, and that's part of the characteristics of a nurturer like you, about caring for so many other people. So how could we move yourself a little further up your caring list?
I have looked at that, and that it's an interesting conversation because I've been working on balance for years, and I truly believe in working on it. Mm-hmm. For me, having things on a calendar, making an appointment, having it default to a text message reminder, does it mean does it mean I make it happen every time? It means I'm probably making it happen 50% more than I would have if left to my own devices. So utilizing the same tools that I utilize to motivate me for meetings, for appointments, for other methodologies, because I've already ingrained that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. And so that's great, because 50% is a heck of a lot more than 0% improvement. So it's fantastic if you can do that. The other thing that you could do is, since procrastination is human nature, I mean, psychologists define procrastination as the act of wanting to feel better now, and who doesn't want to feel better right now? So that means procrastination is human nature, which means there's no way we can cut it out 100% of the time. So it's important to chip away at it as often as possible. So when you do feel the need to procrastinate, is there something else that you can do to procrastinate productively? And I know you have fun shopping online, say for shoes at Bloomingdale's, but is there something else that could be done work-wise, or something that can come off your task list, so that when you do procrastinate, you're doing so still getting things done?
So strategically positioning the procrastination.
Exactly. And that's why those task lists are so helpful, because if you realize these are the priorities I need to get done today, and you know what, I don't feel like working on this one right now, you can jump to the next one on the list. So technically you're procrastinating, but you're doing it in an effective manner, because you're still getting something done that's very important.
Yeah, I like that. And I think I had shared when we spoke last, I have a to-do list, and it's to do now, to do later. So I can take some of the to-do laters and put them on the do nows, just so I can move them over to the do laters. That might help.
Yes, exactly. There's still things that need to get done.
I like it. How do, because one of the things that I encounter, and this has become, and I'm not knocking anybody by any stretch of the imagination, I do work very long hours. I have 12 different businesses that I'm involved in. I am an insomniac. I am very driven. I am type A cubed. So I'm not knocking anybody else's drive or direction, but one of the biggest challenges that I encounter with people is, you don't understand, fill in the blank. I have children. I have aging parents. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. I know what I can accomplish. And I look at other people and I think, if we could sit down and pull out your the things where you piss away your time the most, and I believe electronic devices are a huge distraction. We do not realize how much time we spend on them. What do you say to people to really get them real and looking at, no, it's the same 24 hours, Buttercup. You can do this. And more importantly, because you're saying you don't have time, you're the one who needs to do this.
Well, I have discovered that I need to be very careful when I hear the words, I don't have enough time, and that they need to be followed by the words, is there any way you can help me, in order for that person to be accepting of whatever advice that you're going to give to them. And some people don't have enough time, and they're okay with that. That's how they want to live, and they are accepting of that. Just like you mentioned earlier, that some people are just born to be angry. That's how they're going to be. Some people are just consistently living their lives in a way that does not create more time for them. And if that's how they want to live, that's fine. So I think it's important that each one of us accepts how we are. And so, Kimberly, you're very happy with your life, so there's no reason why anybody should knock that. I'm very happy with how I live my life, and so I would probably take offense to people who want to put a knock against that. So the important thing is not to look at how differently we all live, but instead to look at how can we help each other out when that person asks you for help.
Yeah, and I think that's the key factor is you look at their level of satisfaction. If they're telling you they're dissatisfied with their positioning, then you've got to really sit down and get them to be honest about where their time is spent and what they're willing to, because it is a trade. You're going to have to trade something. It isn't giving something up. You're going to have to trade priorities ultimately. And that's a really tough conversation for people. And I do get time management involved in business development and personal development because it's a universal problem. It's not the primary problem people come to me for, but when you're telling me I didn't have time in 2 weeks to watch a 90-minute video, I'm thinking, 24 hours times 14. I'm going to say if you had watched 10 minutes a day, you would have been done, I don't know, a week ago. So, that's where people really do need to look at what is the level of satisfaction that they're living with. We're going into our next break. I want to come back and talk about what can we do when other people piss our time away. That's a huge hot button for me this week, and I'll share why when we come back. But I lost in a 10-day period 7.5 hours of my time, literally logged 7.5 hours on the phone resolving a problem that not only was I paying for, I was running the quality control and customer service on for 2 different companies that I don't work for. I pay premiums to. And I got to do the work.
Oh, my.
Oh, yeah. And I'm naming names when we come back. So how do we deal with that when we've got other people pissing our time away, and it's become a bigger and bigger problem from what I've seen? So join us back in just a few minutes. We're speaking with Helene Segura, the inefficiency assassin, and we're going to find out how we can maybe manage our own expectations, maybe have some better direction on dealing with when other people piss your time away, and it feels like it's out of your control. Join us back in just a few moments.
Having overcome tremendous obstacles herself, she believes happiness is overrated. She calls upon you to live joyfully. This is Lessons in Joyful Living, and Kimberly will be right back after these on the Lessons in Joyful Living Radio Network. Julie Brain Lady Anderson is considered to be one of the nation's top experts on the brain-personality connection. And now, every week, she is here to share her knowledge with you. When you learn to tap into the potential of your natural gifts and the power of the brain-mind connection, the sky is never the limit. As a matter of fact, there is no limit. Tune in to Brain Lady Speaks with Julie Brain Lady Anderson, Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific on the Lessons in Joyful Living Radio Network.
It's the Fitness Minute with fitness expert Annette Hammond.
According to the Mayo Clinic, chronic stress can lead to a variety of health and emotional problems, and yoga is a wonderful stress reducer. The core elements of Hatha Yoga are the poses and breathing. The poses, or postures, are a series of movements designed to increase flexibility and strength. The breathing is controlled, and the breath signifies your vital energy. They report that yoga can increase your fitness, reduce your stress, help you manage chronic health conditions, and even help with weight loss. Yoga can aid you in making healthy lifestyle changes necessary to gain control of your eating and drop those excess pounds. If you have ever wanted to try yoga, September is the perfect time because September is National Yoga Month. For the Fitness Minute, I'm Annette Hammond. Visit our Facebook fan page at Fitness Minute with Annette Hammond.
Welcome back to Lessons in Joyful Living, teaching you how to truly stand in a place of peace, joy, and abundance, and know that it's calling for each and every one of us. This is what drives Kimberly to live what she teaches and to share her success and passion for helping others to help themselves. So let's get back to the show. This is Lessons in Joyful Living on the Lessons in Joyful Living Radio Network. And now, here again is our founder and your host, Kimberly Rinaldi.
Good morning, and welcome back to Lessons in Joyful Living with Kimberly Rinaldi, and I want to thank you for joining me today. We have the author of The Inefficiency Assassin, Helene Segura, online with us today, talking about how you can improve your life by improving your time management. And before we went into the break, I was talking about the fact that sometimes it feels like it's out of your control. And, Helene, I was mentioning that I logged 7.5 hours of phone time managing quality assurance for a company I do not work for, yet I pay them premiums. So I actually got to a regional director to explain, not only am I paying you premiums, I'm having to manage your quality control and your customer satisfaction because your people are refusing to do their job. This person before this person admitted this was an ongoing internal process. It was State Farm, and I'll tell you what happened. I was driving, a rock hit my windshield. It cracked. I think I mentioned that a couple weeks ago. I'm actually having the third windshield put in today because they replaced it with a flawed windshield. And then they sent out another one that was even more flawed. And today we get finally, they have assured me that this has been inspected. It is flaw-free. You can't drive with a windshield that has flaws in it. It's a safety and quality issue. But the fact that there were 7.5 hours on the phone that I had to get my insurance agent onto a three-way call with a claims regional director and explain the insurance commission has validated my stand on this. Yes, you can use non-stock glass. You can use seconds. And there are people who will accept that. I'm not one of them. So when you're telling me my policy says I don't have to have factory glass, I want you to tell me where in my policy it excludes factory glass. And their first response was to send me a copy of my policy. I called back and said, no, I'm not reading through this. You sell this policy. Well, I don't know where it is. So the Insurance Commission in California will be really interested to know that you're selling product that you're not familiar with. That's not what I'm saying. Well, you're not willing to tell me where this is. Show me where it excludes factory glass. I want the exact verbiage. Well, that's for you to go in there and look. No, you're telling me that you don't know my policy. You sold it to me. You should know this. You work in the industry. I don't. They don't know that I did at one point, so I'm very familiar with the process. But they weren't managing their vendors. They weren't managing the process. And I ended up taking a trip last week, and I told them, I'm taking a road trip. I'm not taking the car with the flawed glass. You now have a back order on factory glass because they did finally approve it. What are you going to do to resolve this for me? Well, I have a policy that allows for non-commission. If the car's out of commission, then I can have a rental car. And if the car's out of commission being covered by my policy, which it was, there was a cap of $50 a day. And so they were going to put me in, I'm going to say a little tiny vehicle. And I said, no. I have a Lexus. It's a larger one, and I want a comparable vehicle. Well, we can put you, I want comparable or equivalent. Well, you have a $50 a day cap. That's not my problem. This car would have been resolved had you put non-flawed glass in the first time. We're on the third time. This would have been resolved had you managed the process the first time. You and I were on the break, and I was talking about the fact that when the economy swings into challenges, when we have difficulties, people start looking at money as being the quality factor. They will sacrifice quality and customer service for the dollar. Well, the economy is starting to swing the other direction, and we're still having to tolerate poor quality customer service because we're in that growth stage. We're in that growing pain stage. But I've watched this happen 3 times over my lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And we do, as a collective, we start, I'll pay $10 less and know that I have to manage a process a little bit more. I've never been one to do that. I want quality. Damn it, I want you to do the job you're getting paid to do. How do we work around that process? Because 7.5 hours of my time means I'm not earning, well, technically I am earning money, but damn it, you've got my attention on something I'm not getting paid to do. You've got people, a myriad of people who are getting paid and they're not doing their job.
Mm-hmm.
Ransom,
and this would depend on any situation. Yeah. So, let's say that you had some kind of discrepancy on your bill that was $5.99. And so you would want to ask yourself, it's probably going to take me 3 hours to get this resolved. Do I want to spend 3 hours over $5.99? The answer is most likely no, and so you let it slide, and that's why customer service will keep going into the toilet. However, you've made a good decision about protecting your time. But health and safety, that's totally different. You can't be driving around with a defective windshield, so it has to be taken care of. And you did everything the right way in trying to be as assertive yet polite as possible to let those people know that everything needs to be done right. And in the end, you clocked those 7.5 hours. And so what I would be interested in finding out is, have you approached that regional director who you mentioned during the break? Have you approached that regional director with a bill for all the time that was lost, or a request for credit somewhere on your insurance policy when it comes time to pay for all the time that you spent?
I actually did, and I do on a regular basis, and you're going to laugh. I have a very high hourly rate. It's several $100s an hour. And I told him, I am a consultant for process improvement. And I worked within the insurance industry. At that point, I let it out. I worked within the insurance industry in process improvement at one point. I get brought in as a contractor, as a consultant, to help people tighten up processes, save money, save resources, and improve their customer satisfaction. I presented them with a bill. It was laughable. I got a $74.98 check yesterday.
Oh my goodness.
And that's usually what happens. If they send me anything, it's usually very minute amount that for the most part, I will cash it and I will donate it somewhere. But it's laughable. And I look at these things, and there are times where, businesses will send me gift cards or, in lieu for and there are times I get thanked. I really do get thanked for pointing out process improvement opportunity. But I look at this and I think, I am doing work that basically I'm paying for twice and then some at this point. So
right. So the next question becomes, are
you
going to stay with that company who does that to you, or are you going to shop around for a company that may charge a few dollars more, but they're going to treat you a whole lot better?
Yeah, and that is the next step in the process once this is resolved. I truly, and that is how we vote people. That is how we get companies to change their way, is if you're not being treated right, find someone else. I was talking about it. This is why I shop at Bloomingdale's and Nordstrom, and companies that no matter what the economy, no matter what the circumstances, quality customer care is their priority, and you see it in everything that they do. Yes, you're going to have to, unfortunately, until the tide turns and that pendulum swings fully the other direction, you're going to have to pay extra for it at this point. But damn it, it's because collectively we all said this shit's okay at some point.
We let our standards down. And going back to your insurance situation, once the situation's resolved and you shop around for another company, would you also consider taking the step of letting State Farm know why you're leaving and let that be known publicly? Because when it's just one person out of 100,000 customers, then they would tend to just blow you off and say, it's just one. But when you, who has such a great reach through everything you do and your radio show and your businesses, when you go ahead and let the world know, then that's going to make quite a blip on the State Farm screen. So have you considered going even more public?
Oh, I actually told them look forward to this week's show, that it was just timed so perfectly.
Oh.
And I will be sending them a clip. And this is just a lead-in. And after I've done my research, I'm hoping to partner with the next insurance company that I bring on board. I'd love to bring them on as a sponsor and give them airtime to talk about why who we pick next is being selected for their customer satisfaction rating, because that's what I'm after at this point. And I had nothing to do with the State Farm decision, and I, hand to God, love Mr. Rinaldi. He's been with them since the age of 16 because his parents were with them. And this has been an ongoing issue within the organization that we have had with them. And this time I told him, I'm done. I will do the research, because he doesn't like change. I will do the research. I am not loyal to one company. I want the company that's going to treat me best, and sometimes it changes. So,
and
it
not
is
always
about
for the
managing
good.
our expectations, and it is about understanding where do you want to put your energy.
Exactly.
So we are going into our next break. When we come back, I want to talk about how do we make things easier for us now that we know how to control our procrastination, or at least we don't know, but we know where we can find out how to control our procrastination, how to manage our own expectations. What can we do to make things easier for us to take care of us, and why it's so important? So join us back after the next break. We're speaking with Helene Segura. We're talking about time management tactics for working smarter, not longer. You're going to end up with more time at the end of the day, at the end of the week, at the end of the month. This is where you get to start to decide where you're going to invest. I talk about it with health. You either invest in wellness or illness, because ultimately you're investing. And your choices will either move you towards wellness or they move you towards illness on the continuum. Same thing goes with time management. You can invest in productivity, or you can invest in peace. And when I say productivity, I mean spinning your wheels for the sake of spinning your wheels. So join us back. We're going to find out, now that we can do this, what can we do with that time to help improve our lives? And Helene Segura is here to talk about it. So join us back in just a few moments. If you haven't joined me, again, go to KimberlyRinaldi.com. Find out where I am, what I'm doing, when I'm doing it, and I'd love to have you join me there.
Having overcome tremendous obstacles herself, she believes happiness is overrated. She calls upon you to live joyfully. This is Lessons in Joyful Living, and Kimberly will be right back after these on the Lessons in Joyful Living Radio Network. Through decades of study, research, training, and personal experience, Kimberly Rinaldi has found that the answers always exist within. Explore the realm of consciousness, the unconscious mind, creative consciousness, and higher consciousness. Apply the tools you'll take away from these conversations and watch your life begin to unfold in ways that will make you believe in magic if you didn't already. Mind Science and Metaphysics, Mondays 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, on the Lessons in Joyful Living Radio Network. From quantum physics to metaphysics, cryptozoology to conspiracy theory, energy healing to angels, on Into the Light Paranormal Radio, we're here to tell you that just because you haven't experienced it doesn't mean it's not real. Each episode, Kitty Janice, Kimberly Rinaldi, and their guests have one goal, and that's to bring another conversation and another bit of consciousness into the light. Into the Light Paranormal Radio, Thursdays at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, on the Lessons in Joyful Living Radio Network. Welcome back to Lessons in Joyful Living, teaching you how to truly stand in a place of peace, joy, and abundance, and know that it's calling for each and every one of us. This is what drives Kimberly to live what she teaches and to share her success and passion for helping others to help themselves. So let's get back to the show. This is Lessons in Joyful Living on the Lessons in Joyful Living Radio Network. And now, here again is our founder and your host, Kimberly Rinaldi.
Good morning. Good morning and welcome back. And thank you for joining us on Lessons in Joyful Living on the Lessons in Joyful Living Radio Network. Today we have Helene Segura joining us, and we're talking about how to better manage your time. What to do if you're the procrastination junkie, the chronic procrastinator, the adrenaline-addicted individual, as I admit to. What to do when the time management issues are out of your hand. I truly, and I was sharing on the break, and I won't go into the details, but I truly have come to the point where I'm not here for people to like me when it comes to the customer service aspect of it. I am here to be effective in my life, and if you're not going to do the job you're getting paid to do, I am going to escalate above your head. I had an issue with a local fire department many years ago in healthcare, and I remember going to the regional director who was above the battalion chief, and I said, the bottom line is, I don't care if when they come into my facility, their commentary is, we better watch our mouths because this broad's a bitch and she's going to complain. I don't care if that's the communication. I'm not here to be liked. They need to come in, do their jobs, and get out. Once that transport is on city streets, they're your responsibility. On my property, they're mine. So that's the bottom line. And I think, honestly, Helene, do too many people worry about, I don't want to offend, I don't want them to be mad at me, and sacrifice their quality for that total stranger who, unfortunately, isn't doing the job they're getting paid to do?
You know, it's interesting you bring this up because I have found that the majority of my clients, and my clients struggle with time management, that's why they hire me, the majority of my clients are nurturers. And they do care about what other people think. They put everybody else first and they put themselves last, and they just want everybody to be happy because they don't want any kind of conflict. Now, you have what I would call a hybrid personality because you have the nurturer aspect of wanting to help people, but you also have that assertive characteristic in there. So you know when it's time to put the brakes on worrying about everybody else and then make sure that what needs to get done gets done. So to answer your question, yes, there are a lot of people out there who are more worried about being liked than they are worried about standing up for themselves and protecting their time.
And I think, honestly, if you can come from the aspect of and the perspective of, I'm not saying no to everybody else. I'm learning to say yes to me. Right. It is a much healthier perspective. I'm not saying, I'm not saying I hate State Farm. I hate everybody who I encountered. We all have a path to walk, and I don't know what the circumstances are for the 11 people that I was in contact with over 7.5 hours. I don't know. And maybe I caught each and every one of them on the worst day of their lives. I do not know. And that's the reason I don't make it personal. The bottom line is I'm going to say yes to me. They're getting paid to do a job, and it's not being done. So I come from an interesting dynamic in that I watched my own mother say no to herself in public forums because she didn't want somebody else angry with her until she got into menopause. And then, oh, my God, I remember having to tell someone one time, she's off her meds, I apologize. But there does come a defining moment, and for a lot of women, it is menopause, because we lose patience hormonally. We lose a lot of that I'm more concerned with everybody else aspect. But for the love of God, ladies, don't wait until you're 45 to take a stand for yourself. Start looking at it now. How are you saying, how are you saying no to you and making everyone else matter more? So in doing this, what does this do for us? What have you seen? Oh, go ahead.
Well, in the entire first third of my book, I'm talking about creating clarity. And this is exactly what you're talking about. In creating clarity about the type of life that we want to live, the kind of quality that we want to have in our lives, and realizing that we need to say yes to those desires first. Because if we have that quality in our lives, then in the end, eventually, we will have more time to help whoever else that we would like to help. But we can't effectively help everybody else in the world if we ourselves are falling apart. So like you were just saying, you don't want to wait until the change of life for your hormones to force you to care more about yourself. Start doing it now, because you can enjoy so many more years of living life the way you want to, instead of living at everybody else's beck and call.
Yeah, and I think that is such an important lesson in this whole conversation. I still have my moments where I slip. I still, it's still the adrenaline junkie. If it's for me and it's a personal thing, I got time. I'll put it off. I'm going to work on it. I'm continuing to work on it. But I've given you two different aspects, even within my own life, that are very polar. Balance. I think that's the important key in this conversation. How can you put yourself into a position where you understand sometimes you have to manage your time, sometimes you have to manage your expectations, sometimes you have to manage your belief that, gosh, I just want everyone to get along and everyone to like me. Again, part of the managing expectations. But ultimately, this is about finding that peace at the end of the day where you can live with what you've experienced.
And that's an amazing life to live, to reflect at the end of the day and say, it may not have been 100% perfect, but I got the majority done of what I wanted to get done. I'm happy. I have a life that I truly like. Because so many times we just keep chasing and chasing and chasing because we haven't pinpointed exactly what we want in some kind of measurable term. And so we just keep spinning our wheels around and around and feeling like we never get anywhere. But once you realize who you're living for and what it is you're living for and the type of life you want to create for yourself, what a wonderful reflection that you can have at the end of each day to know that you are living life on your terms.
I love it. Now, you're the author. You wrote the book. I'm going to ask you to get a little vulnerable here. Which ones do you still have a challenge with? Because I want people to understand, again, just reiterating, there are going to be things we work on for the rest of our lives.
Right. One of my biggest challenges is making sure that I pause first before the automatic yes comes out of my mouth, because I do want to help other people, and I'm human. I want other people to like me too, but occasionally I will let that yes slip out, and later on I'll say, oh my gosh, why did you say yes? You don't have time to do that. And so it's something that I still work on every day. And I also, especially in these last few weeks, I've been working on procrastination. Kimberly, I shared with you that my mother passed away 3.5 weeks ago. And the last thing on my mind has been work, even though I'm very much a type A personality. And so I've really had to battle procrastination these last few weeks because I would rather be doing something else than what I'm supposed to do. So procrastination is still very much in the picture. And so I have to catch myself before going down that rabbit hole and ask myself, is delaying this task going to benefit you? And the answer is no, which helps me to get back on task. But I also make sure that I don't overschedule myself, because that's another type A challenge. We tend to overschedule ourselves and try to pack too much in, and that just doesn't work. And so I still work on a daily basis with making sure that I'm saying yes to myself first, making sure that I'm fending off procrastination as much as possible, and then also making sure I do not overschedule myself.
Yeah, and those are just such key components. And I think I shared with you the last time we were together, I say no to everything. Just ask me. I'm going to say no. Mm-hmm. And that because I have the knee-jerk reaction. I don't give myself time to think about it, so I'm just going to say no. And then I might come back 2 minutes later, a week later, an hour later, and say, okay, you know what, I lied. I will do, can do, am willing to do. So, you know, it comes back to saying yes to yourself, and I think that is the biggest process that we're trying to make clear here. The book, again, is The Inefficiency Assassin, Time Management Tactics for Working Smarter, Not Longer, Helene Segura. And this goes from business to personal, and I think it's a great book. It has some great tools and tips. And I promise you will find yourself in there, because I found myself 3 times at least. So, Helene, where do our listeners go to find you? Where do they find the book?
They can get information about the book, and they can also get a free productivity kit, as well as any information they want about me at timemanagementrevolution.com. There's a little form you can fill out on there, and then you will get that productivity kit, which includes a complimentary webinar on how to avoid procrastination.
I love it. I love it. And where will you be next? I'm curious.
I will be in Los Angeles next week, and Chicago mid-October, and then Missouri the end of October.
I love it. So go to her website, find out if you're in those areas or close to those areas, how you can connect. So, Helene, I want to thank you again. I look forward to our next conversation. This is so important because we just keep getting busier and busier, and it isn't always with the important things. So I look forward to talking to you again very soon.
Thank you.
And thank you all for joining me on Lessons in Joyful Living on the Lessons in Joyful Living Radio Network. Go out and do good things for you today. Make today about you. Put yourself in the center of your universe. That is why you're here. And as we've said before, once you do that, you have more resources to expend on what's important, and more importantly, who's important in your world. When you find your lesson in joyful living, that thing that you're here to do, don't forget to share it. Finding it is half the path, sharing it is the other half, which is why we're here Monday through Friday, sharing our lessons in joyful living through our hosts, our guests, our stories, our experiences, our inspirations, affirmations, and bits of education that we can provide you. If you have a lesson in joyful living that you'd like to share with us, I'd love to hear about it. Email info@lijlmedia.com or call 888-916-4569. Again, info@lijlmedia.com or call 888-916-4569. We'd love to hear about it. We'd love to share your story. If you're interested in becoming a guest or a host, reach out to us. We'll talk. I look forward to seeing you back here tomorrow.
Being a part of Lessons in Joyful Living with Kimberly Rinaldi on the Lessons in Joyful Living Radio Network.